This is an extract from the Leader podcast by the Evening Standard, hosted by me, David Marsland. To hear the whole thing, search for us on your podcast provider. Scotland's already been through this. Now it's England's turn. After classes were cancelled because of the pandemic, how can the exam results be fair? An algorithm that would keep results in line with previous years has been ditched after uproar north of the border that a similar scheme discriminated against the disadvantaged. Now it's been replaced with the so-called triple lock, but our editorial column says that's just confused everyone.
Essay crises rarely produce the best work. The government's last-minute reversal on how it will grade A-levels is a prime example. The government has gone into screeching reverse and hit on an excruciatingly complicated system. If students don't like their standardised grades, they can appeal to go with their mock exam results, and if they don't like those, they can take the exams in the autumn. But that will surely cause more problems than it solves. The trouble is that poorer students could still be hit by the algorithm, but in order to use mock results instead, they will be tasked with persuading their schools to appeal on their behalf. This is no trivial matter. These results will affect many young futures. Government grade? Must try harder.
The Evening Standard columnist and senior editor at The Economist, Anne McElvoy, is with me now. And Anne, you're the parent of a 15-year-old waiting for the results. This must all be adding to the stress of what was already a uniquely stressful time.
Well, I've seen two children into university through the donkey derby, as I described it in the column of the GCSE and A-level system. Of course, it's a bit different, I think, when there is actual uncertainty about whether children can sit exams. If they're not sitting them, how are they going to be graded? And what will count as a guide other than a teacher ranking of how they've done? Because be under no illusions about this. This is a kind of ranking system. Usually that's kind of done by sitting an exam, which is basically a big fat ranking system dressed up with some grades. But teachers are less experienced at doing that and often less willing to do it. They don't really see that it's their job as opposed to imparting the information and making sure that the children are test ready. So I think that's why everybody is a bit more freaked out about this than we might otherwise be by just a disruption to the system.
And we've seen Scotland go through all of this already. So across the country, there are just tens of thousands of pupils involved in this. So I'm wondering what happens next, Dan. What about the universities? We're going to have to sort out all of this mess and decide who gets a place.
That is absolutely right. What will happen for the universities is they will be asked to be flexible, which you could say is a polite way of putting it, because they often really won't know, pending appeals, given that there seems to be some doubt about whether any system that anyone's come up with can actually deliver, if you like, an avatar to the likely A-level result. There are always exceptions. There are always ways in which you might judge it differently. It's an imperfect system. You need to do something. The universities don't really know where to be flexible and where not to be flexible. That said, this is uncharted territory, as so much is around the COVID-19 era. The universities will, I think, look very carefully. And the good thing about UCAS and the way that it's done is there's a lot of information from previous performance. So they should be able to be guided by that. But they need to focus on the individual student, to be pupil, wannabe student, rather than the reputation and standing of the school. Because if you do that, you end up with something that might be kind of fair overall, but for the individual, it can be very unfair.
And what about next year? And at the moment, we know the government wants to get the schools open in September, but we don't really know how they're going to do it.
We don't know that. And as I say, as I've got a pupil upstairs doing, as we speak, advanced Netflix studies, my desire really would be to get her back as soon as possible. I do believe that the gains that there are in having children regular school, even if it is very much obviously socially distanced or phased returns or some pupils going in different days, it's vital to their focus, to their mental health. And also a lot of our reporting has really showed us that once you start to withdraw from it without having an oven-ready system to back it up, as good as some online courses are, they need to get back to school. The question is the practicalities. And on that, I do think that Gavin Williamson, the Education Secretary, he expresses a wish that many of us hold. But frankly, his job is to do more than come up with a wish. He needs to come up with practical guidance, and he needs to say, look, we're taking something of a risk on this, because it is, but it is a calculated risk. It's a trade-off. And if we don't do it, this next generation will bear the brunt of COVID-19 more than they ever should.